Hi, my name is Hogan Schnard, and this is my Decades project. From 1910 to 1920, the largest event in America's history was World War I, which the U.S. officially entered on April 6, 1917, when the U.S. declared war on Germany. Although they basically started before that by sending money and supplies to their allies. Alright, and let me take you down to the trenches where the majority of the battles in World War I happened. So you can see the trench has 3 layers, 1, 2, 3, and they're all zigzagged, such as this one you see moves. They did that because they didn't want the enemy to be able to come into the trench and be able to shoot down a straight line. This first trench is known as the front line trench, which was facing the enemy trench, and is where they watched the no man's land. Right there. I'll talk to you about it later. The next trench is a secondary trench, which acted as a backup for the primary trench, and usually had an HQ dugout, which is right here. The HQ dugout. The HQ dugout was the communication and planning bunker in the trenches. It was shell-proof and sometimes as deep as 30 feet. Alright, and finally, the third part of the trench was the reserve trench, and that was just the final line of defense in the trenches. Now, just a little bit, no man's land. This is where, this is the area in between the 2 trenches that was flat, usually, and not occupied because the enemy had easy lanes to shoot you from anywhere inside of no man's land. Alright, next I want to show you some of the major weapons, or the 2 major weapons used in World War I, which first is the howitzer cannon, which was used by the U.S. right here. The howitzer cannon was fired from a distance at enemy trenches to soften the resistance so that they could send troops into enemy trenches. Second weapon, right here, is the Browning machine gun. The machine guns in World War I were very primitive, and not extremely rare, but they weren't very common either. And these were used to mow down enemies in no man's land as they came to try and capture your trench. Now I can show you some of the World War I vehicles, or World War I era vehicles. First one is car, which is the American Dodge Touring, which was made in 1915 and was just a common car used by citizens to get around every day. Next, I want to show you this U-boat, which is an American U-boat. It was used during the war because it was fast and could deal a lot of damage quickly with its missiles. And yeah. Alright, and then lastly, here's the plane used by the U.S. military. First, they were used just for scouting because people really didn't see how they would have a purpose other than that, and they didn't see their potential. But eventually, they were outfitted to fight. When they started fighting, pilots would bring